I'm excited because we have a new sheriff in town, and the board office put us in contact with the sheriff's department, and they were more than eager to help us this time around. And in fact, we just met with them yesterday, along with the Internal Services Bureau, and the sheriff's department will be providing the process by which the weapons will be destroyed. And probation department is working already to identify the serial numbers and get those into the system, so the weapons can then be taken out of the automated system as destroyed. The meeting yesterday allowed us to meet with the Internal Services Division. That will be working with the vendor. They explained the process they're going to go through, make sure we comply with contracts and grants procedures for the county. As you know, the county procurement usually takes a long time. We're pushing this a very quick process because the sheriffs have some contacts that they put us in touch with that are locally here in Anaheim. ISD will be assisting us in completing all the documentation, all the forms that are required for the destruction of the firearms. And once the paperwork is complete and all those record checks have been entered into the system, we'll be coordinating with the vendor for a date and time for the weapons to be destroyed. Once the destruction is completed, we'll verify with the sheriff's department, make sure all those data entries are into the automated firearm system so that those records are shown as destroyed weapons. And as far as the timeline, we're hoping we can get this done, get the data by the end of the week, maybe early next week, and then get the ISD and the procurement with the vendor so we can destroy these weapons within 2 or 3 weeks. So hopefully I can come back next month and report that the weapons are already destroyed. It's a little different process, and we'll explain that at the next meeting once we go through their vendor and see how they actually do the weapon destruction. But again, I want to say thanks to the board for putting it in touch with the new sheriff and his staff. They were more than eager to help us. So I'm excited about that opportunity. And I welcome any questions at this point.
That concludes the presentation, right, Wendy? We can move on to public comment.
Yes, so if you'd like to make public comment, please use the raise your hand button at the bottom of the screen or dial *3 on your phone. Did we have any pre-registered public comment on this item, Janae?
The individual is not online with us.
Okay. If you pre-registered for this and are on the phone, can you please dial *3 on your phone so we can see who you are? But other than that, I don't see any hands raised, Chair Jackson.
All right, if any are raised in the course of commissioner comments, we can revisit those. This was a hot topic last meeting, so I would imagine a couple commissioners have things to say, starting with Commissioner Gonzales.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Yes, I just want to really point out to Supervisor Hilda Solis's office, thank them for catching this, and Chief Gonzales in your report from the last meeting, that once you were notified because you were not aware, that you immediately put a stop to it. And I'm wondering if there's a timeline for the forms process and the destruction of the firearms. And if so, what is that timeline? And I would imagine that once it does take process, you'll be giving updates to our director, to Wendy. Thank you.
Yes, the timeline, like you said, we'll finish hopefully entering into the automated firearm system, our numbers, our serial numbers for each of the weapons. And we have 334 weapons. So obviously that'll take some time. So we're hoping in the next week or two, the vendor will be confirmed, because the contractors have to be done through the Internal Services Division, not through the Sheriff's Department. They just put us in touch with the ISD. They're the ones that are doing the contract with the vendor. Once that's finalized, then they tell me that approximately 2 or 3 weeks, they'll be able to accommodate us. So I'm hoping before the end of the month, we'll have more news to report back, and we'll contact Wendy and make sure we get the information to y'all.
Thank you.
Any other commissioners with comments? Of course, Commissioner Kakani, Vice Chair Kakani.
Thank you, Chair Jackson. Just a quick question, Chief. So I think it's fair to say that there was like a huge gap in like information being relayed to you, right? That like you didn't learn of this until a supervisorial district brought it to your attention. Is that right?
Correct.
So I guess the bigger question to me seems like, how do you plan to ensure that things like this don't, I don't know, get lost in the shuffle again?
That's a great question, because what happens is when the previous administration was here, the staff from the Bureau started working on the direction they were given. So they were going forward with that, thinking that's the way they kind of like that was their directive to get it done. So they were working to get it done. And what took so long was, of course, our procurement process. I think what we plan to do going forward is meeting with a lot of deputy directors, make sure that anything that has to do that's controversial like this, that we're all on the same page. In other words, that we're all addressing the concerns. And we have what we call morning huddles every day now. We meet with the deputy directors, bureau chiefs, chief deputies, to make sure that we're all on the same page regarding anything that we're doing. And we've been invited county council to be on those meetings so that we can have the confidentiality, but also to get us some guidance going forward. So that's how I hope to be able to prevent anything from happening again. And the board motion from the board, as you know, will address that. And working with CEO's office and with POC to respond back to the board motion, will address some of that too.
So these morning huddles were not happening before, or just not happening with this level of regularity?
I'm sorry, I missed the first part of the question.
These morning huddles that you're referencing, were they not happening before?
Right, yeah, the morning, the huddle calls were not happening before
Okay, at all?
at all. I don't know what they were doing before. I just started that shortly, a while after I came in.
I'm sorry, when?
I started the morning huddles when I came in, like about a year after I came in. I saw a need to communicate more with the deputy directors. So we started having the morning huddles regularly, every day.
But no one brought
Unless
this to
something
your
happens and we
attention.
can't have a meeting where we schedule it, but we communicate every day.
Okay, but no one communicated this to you prior?
No, from the firearms, because they received their instructions from the previous administration, so the Bureau was going forward and they didn't really bring it up to us until the end. Thank you.
Questions?
Thank you, Commissioner Kokani. Chief Gonzalez, I had a question. I was wondering, in destroying the guns, what kind of record keeping priorities does the department have? Are you guys going to be tracking all of the devices that are going to be destroyed? Is there going to be any record of that?
Correct. With the assistance of the Sheriff's Department, we provide all the information to the Sheriff's Department, and they'll be tracking the weapons that are destroyed, and they'll be labeled as destroyed. So there's a record of all those serial numbers.
Okay, okay. Thank you for that.